Thank you. This is Digital Marketing Depot broadcasting live. I'm Chris McDonough. Thanks for joining us for an informative webcast to help you plan for your digital marketing service success in 2014. We are very happy to welcome Karen Burka and Rob Eleveld. Hi, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be here.
Well, great, and I'm happy you guys are here with us today. Before I turn things over to Karen to kick us off and get to our first polling question today, I want to be sure to tell you all just a couple of things. If you need some help or have a question for our speakers, there's a little Ask a Question box on the left side of your console. We are standing by to help you out. If you want to tell a friend or check out Optify or Digital Marketing Depot, there are some widgets at the bottom of your screen. As a special note today, you are all a part of an important focus group for us. We're going to have several polls for both agencies and corporate marketers, so be sure to get your mouse ready to go. I'll let you know how it works when we get to those polls. We are recording this broadcast, and we will make it available for viewing on demand this afternoon. I'll let you know when it's ready, or just check our website at digitalmarketingdepot.com. All right, with that business taken care of, I would like to formally introduce our speakers. First up here is Rob Eleveld. He is the CEO of Optify. He is a 20-year tech veteran with deep experience in B2B sales and marketing. Rob is passionate about growing businesses through partner channels at Optify and excited about the opportunity that inbound marketing affords to forward-thinking digital marketing agencies. We also, as mentioned earlier, we have Karen Burka with us today. She is an experienced research analyst, writer, and editor, having spent more than 20 years developing and publishing C-suite multimedia content. Karen has written numerous ebooks, articles, buyer's guides, and market intelligence reports on digital marketing strategies and technologies. We are very thankful to have her with us here today, too. Last up, I want to be sure to thank our sponsor, Optify. Optify delivers a simple digital marketing software suite for digital marketing agencies and B2B marketers. Our complete cloud-based software empowers agency marketers to easily create and manage multiple lead generation programs, nurture prospects, prioritize the best-performing programs, and streamline the reporting of client results, all from one login. Again, there's a little widget at the bottom of your screen if you want to check out Optify. Just go ahead and click on that when you get a chance. I did mention we have a special broadcast today. We will be conducting a survey that we would like you all to be a part of. We're going to ask you all to participate in our polls today, as many of the polls as you can possibly participate in. That'd be great for us. We're going to analyze and use the results for a study we'll be publishing later on. With this large audience, we're looking forward to gaining some insight into the future of integration of digital marketing services. So with that going, I am going to turn this over to Karen to get us going. And Karen, here is your first slide.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks to everyone who is joining us today. I'm going to start our discussion with a look at how digital advertisers and agencies have traditionally looked at media. Now, I know this slide might be a little bit difficult for the audience to read, so don't worry. I'm going to break it out into some different pieces in about a minute. So we're going to look at how we've traditionally viewed media and how that's changing and leading to new challenges and opportunities for agencies and their clients. Now, we've traditionally looked at marketing channels like this, in linear silos that are separate from each other. And the slide that Chris just showed us about Optify services is a great example of how things are changing, and we see a broader array of offerings from a lot of different agencies and companies. Now, here are three of the segments that were just on the previous slide. We can look at the web silo, we can look at the PR or reputation management silo, and email marketing. Now, these are all channels that can be easily used together in a cohesive campaign. For example, using an email campaign to drive prospects to the website. But according to IBM's 2012 State of Marketing study, 66% of marketers surveyed say their email integration is either manual or non-existent. If I look at another of the three silos that were on the original chart, you've got search. Now, even when we talk about search, we're talking about paid search versus organic or SEO. And we can be talking about different practices and staff within the brand or agency that handle these two disciplines. You've also got display, and then we've got emerging media such as social, which for the most part also. Yes.
Hey, Karen, I'm going to stop you and have you speak up a little bit and maybe closer to your headset. Okay, because people can't barely hear you. Thanks.
Is my headset okay, or I guess I could.
It's okay. Just speak up just a little bit. That'd be great.
It's better. Okay.
Thanks.
If you want, I'll start over again with this slide. So these three channels, we're looking at search, and even within search, we're talking about paid search and organic search or SEO. You could be looking at different practices and staff within the brand or agency. You've got display as well as emerging media such as social, which for the most part currently exists in its own silo. Now here, the IBM study that I mentioned, the State of Marketing for 2012, also found that 79% of marketers run their social marketing in silos. And this is how digital agencies have been run as well, right? There are search specialists, and within that discipline, there might be organic search specialists versus paid search SMEs, and different technology platforms for each. Then you may have direct marketing or email specialists versus reputation management or PR specialists. And we viewed paid, owned, and earned media along these same types of lines. Separate media that can be purchased or owned or earned through word of mouth. And each of the media channels we just discussed exists within a slice of this overall media pie in terms of budget or strategy. And here we see they're all separate. And it is time for our first poll question. So I'm going to let Chris take it from here for a minute.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. This is the first question. This is how it works. If you're an agency, this is a question to you. What types of services are you currently offering? And if you are a marketer, what type of services are you currently outsourcing? And this is a multi-answer question, so feel free to hit any or all of the boxes that apply to you. And as it is a pop-up, we'll leave it sit there and then I'll go ahead and hit submit answer right there. That will help us out a great deal. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that out there. And when you're done with that, there's a little X on the upper right-hand corner of that box after you hit submit answer. You can close that right up, and you'll be able to see the next slide coming out. So, Karen, hopefully we've been able to adjust your volume a little bit. I don't know if you've got a headset volume thing you can adjust a little bit up. That would be helpful too. But here's your next slide. Okay, great.
Yeah, I have mine up as high as it goes, so I'll keep talking loud. That's not usually a problem for me. So, all right, so we're moving from the three separate slices of the pie to what we see today, which is more and more the lines blurring between formerly distinct and separate digital media channels. So, for example, Twitter is a social media channel which we can consider owned media because someone at the brand or agency owns the account, right? They post content, they retweet content they want to share, but the brand bounce that occurs from retweeting becomes earned media because it furthers brand awareness. Paid media now includes content marketing campaigns or sponsored stories on Facebook or sponsored tweets on Twitter, as well as more traditional display or paid search advertising campaigns. So now we're seeing integrated search and email programs or search and social programs or digital and offline programs. The media are converging, but the overall goal is the same, to demonstrate ROI for the client. So the question is, what's driving this convergence? And I've got several factors that we're going to talk about over the next few minutes. First, we've got a more complex digital marketing landscape. Going digital used to mean having a functional website that wasn't just an online catalog. Now it means a coordinated online presence optimized for multiple devices. Social marketing is not just a Facebook brand page. It's a coordinated, consistent brand message across Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube, Twitter. SEO has spawned a new channel of content marketing as marketers compete to generate traffic and attract customers. Digital maps and applications for local markets like Yelp or Foursquare are in the mix at the local level. And then you've got mobile, and it's got unique design, development, and distribution requirements. So clearly, it's a confusing and difficult environment for in-house marketers, and particularly when you're operating in siloed departments, which we are seeing the majority do.
Hey, Karen, can I step in here just a minute?
Absolutely.
The thing that I wanted to just make all the listeners aware of is, if you take Karen's last three slides and you look at the sort of the pie chart initially of earned versus paid versus owned media, and then really how those are sort of merging in that Venn diagram in the previous slide, and then this, what's going on in the marketplace to drive convergence. I think that one of the things that to keep in mind is the market out there, the client base of agencies may not understand how these things are merging, and the marketplace is absolutely demanding this, but it's partly a requirement in your business development and sales efforts to communicate this to your clients, because what we see is that the client comes and they have a specific need based on those silos that Karen showed earlier or that pie chart, and they say, I want more, I want to do a website redesign, or I want to improve my ranks in a certain couple of places, or I want more social engagement and brand awareness. And I think part of it is educating clients on the fact that you really can't think of this just in a silo. We want to sort of up-level our discussion with you about how to engage across different channels, because that's what the market is doing, is engaging across different channels. And so there are going to be times when the client knows they want to do that, and there's going to be times when they don't, but your ability to engage with them over a longer term and be more valuable to them is partially dependent on early on setting a little bit broader picture than just their immediate need or pain point in certain cases, if their thinking is more siloed than how the market's actually working out there. And so I just wanted to bring that up as partly an educational requirement as you work with your clients out there, at least from what we see.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Okay. So secondly, what's another factor driving this convergence? We're seeing audience fragmentation. And whether you're B2B or B2C, consumers are on all of these channels and sometimes at the same time, and they're not in one place. Now, this is an example, and if you can't read the writing, don't worry about it. The point of this slide is to see how the columns get bigger and bigger. It's very interesting ComScore data. And what happened was with NBC, ComScore tracked how Olympics viewers watched the 2012 London Olympics. And what they found that the more consumers used multiple devices, the more content they consumed. So the first column is TV only, second is TV and laptop, and with each of the two larger columns, they're adding in mobile devices or tablets. So there's an opportunity here, and cross-channel integration is critical. You need to create programs for brands that target prospects and customers wherever they are and whenever it's convenient for them. And here's our next poll question.
Thank you very much. Okay, audience, same drill for everybody. For the agency out there, what types of integrated digital media services are your clients asking for? And if you are a marketer, what types of integrated digital media services are you looking for? Again, this is a multi-answer question, so you are welcome to hit as many of those buttons as you'd like. At the bottom of the screen, there is a submit button. Hit that first. And then at the end of that, you can hit just an X, that little X in the upper right-hand corner, and close that out. And we'll move you right back to this slide presentation. Okay, Karen, here we go with your next slide.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Okay, more factors driving the convergence. Both of the ones I've just mentioned have created a greater demand for integrating media channels, even if marketers admit they're not set up for it yet. According to the same IBM study I've mentioned a couple of times, the 2012 State of Marketing, an overwhelming majority of marketers agree that media channels need to be integrated and that silos need to be broken down. We see 71% and 85%. You can't have one message on your website and another on your smartphone apps and another on your Twitter accounts. Digital marketing requires a consistent brand message across the enterprise to be effective. And lastly, as we all know, digital media is measurable. And with tighter scrutiny of ROI by C-level executives, marketers and their agencies are being held to a higher level of accountability. And digital media is an important, the measurability of digital media is an important way for you to provide that. So what does that mean for agencies? Well, it means that you need to rethink or look at how you provide various channel services to your clients. And Rob will speak more specifically about that in a couple of minutes. Some agencies have chosen to specialize and offer narrowly defined but best-of-breed services, such as mobile programs or SEO link building. And we see a lot of those types of agencies in the markets. I've given a couple of examples here. The second path is to diversify and either buy, build, or use partnerships to create a broader range of services that manage your client's presence on multiple channels. And we've seen a lot of M&A activity in the past couple of years to that effect. And I'll mention again a couple of those deals in this slide. So clearly as an agency, you have many choices and many new opportunities to combine services, figure out how to charge for these new services, or specialize in a particular service. And the question is, which direction will you take and how will you get there? Now the information Rob is going to present is going to help you make those choices. And with that, do we have another, I think we have another poll question before Rob starts. Yes.
Yes, you do. All right, everybody, this is a single answer question here, and you can see why. If you're an agency, do you plan to expand and integrate digital marketing services? And if you are a marketer, do you plan to expand and integrate your digital marketing campaigns? The answers are yes, but we are struggling. No, we prefer to stay focused on what we know. Yes, we are planning on hiring outside partners to help us integrate. Yes, we are going to keep it all in-house. Or yes, we are looking to partner with another firm. Again, the same drill, but now you can only choose one, and then hit submit. All right. Rob, I would love to bring you back on board here, and here is your first slide.
Hi. So first of all, thanks a lot to Karen for, we don't have access to nearly as much data across the whole gamut of agencies and digital marketing like the Digital Marketing Depot does. So it's great to see that as Karen and Chris and I were working on putting together this presentation and understanding what we were going to talk about, that Karen's data and the Digital Marketing Depot's data at a broad level is exactly what we're seeing, a little bit more close to the market at a more detailed level. So to start with, what we spend a lot of our time on is the agencies that serve primarily local clients. They may be small businesses, they may be branch offices of larger businesses or franchises or whatever. But we see out there, to give you an idea of where our framework and perspective is and where most of my data points for my piece of the presentation is, our own data analysis suggests that there's something around 120,000 agencies, probably plus or minus 10%, in North America. And we call them long-tail agencies. These are agencies with a handful, anywhere from one-person agencies up to, let's say, 20 or 25 folks. But they're not big brand agencies. And so you see the big brand agencies are down there, further down the funnel at sort of 900 of the largest agencies in the U.S. and so forth. And we actually spend more of our time here at Optify with our platform serving what we would call established business agencies, and that's no hit on the smaller agencies that are probably primarily one-person shops. But we tend to work with folks because of the sort of our software being used across multiple clients and multiple internal employees, even if it's only 3 or 4. We tend to focus on agencies that have at least a couple of either contractors or marketers on staff as W-2 employees. And that's what we call established businesses. You can still see 54,000 of them. It's a huge market of agencies because it's a huge market of demand for digital marketing services. And we think that the overall agency field is continuing to grow because the speed at which digital marketing is changing, and even Karen's data suggests the speed at which the clients out there are demanding more integrated, demanding more results-focused digital marketing programs, those things. They have a very hard time keeping up with it all in-house. They don't have the expertise to keep up with it. They often don't have the ability to hire dedicated headcount for certain areas they want to explore, that sort of thing. And so there's a huge opportunity for agencies. And anyway, my perspective on this and my data points and my discussions with our customers and partners are much more in the small medium business arena in local areas around the country and Europe and certain parts of Asia and so forth. So next slide. This is an idea of really what we talk about in terms of a long-tail agency, and it's usually got a founder and a couple of employees, and they have anywhere from 5 to tens of clients up to say 100. And a lot of times those clients, and you all who are listening know this, the clients that you all have, oftentimes they're not. They need something for a period of time, and they don't. So they kind of go dormant. And then they come back on because they need something else and so forth. And so if I'm an agency with 3 or 4 employees and 15 or 20 clients, it may be that I'm only billing at any given time 8 or 10 of those clients, but I've kind of got 20 in the mix or something like that. That's kind of a typical breakdown we would see. And this model of agency is growing rapidly with the market demand, and it stems out of kind of one of 3 types of founders or owner-operators of the agency, which is our next slide. So what we see out there, and the types of folks we work with a ton and call us and talk to us or use our software, become customers and partners of Optify, come from kind of one of 3 backgrounds in terms of this long-tail agency. The first is, and probably the most common, frankly, is they come from a creative background in marketing. And there's a ton of need for creative out there because there's more and more content needs out there, and hopefully you're tying your brand in with content. And these creative founders and owners of agencies are very client-driven. They're awesome in wanting to work and please their clients. And oftentimes they've come out of either a larger agency or in-house. And some of the opportunities they have that aren't exactly what their background is providing more data-driven services or at least reporting on certain data sources. And so because the market's demanding that, even though their creative background isn't exactly that, and so they may hire some folks that do that. They may look for a platform that does that. We try and provide that, obviously, but there's other places to find that sort of data. But that's one very common type. Another type is more of the founder or founders of an agency come more from a web development background, and they're involved in projects associated with web design, web redesign, and so forth. We really think the foundation of digital marketing starts with a website, right? And the foundation of cross-channel digital marketing, as Karen was talking about earlier, is really a lot of times driving people from some other channel to the website where they can convert to a lead or to a subscription or e-commerce transaction of some sort, whether it's B2B or B2C. And so the web development founder or owner of an agency is a great background. But oftentimes web development or web redesign is a project, and there's opportunities to transition that project into more retainer-based services and keep an ongoing billable relationship with a client after the initial project is done. And then the last type of founder or owner of a long-tail agency we see is someone that comes from a digital marketing background in-house. They operated social media strategies or database marketing for a larger firm or brand, broke out on their own. And oftentimes they really know digital marketing campaigns backwards and forwards. And the challenge becomes, wow, I use my Rolodex, I get 3 or 4 clients on board. Now I need 1 or 2 or 3 more folks to execute some of the services for me, because my real strength is interfacing with clients, managing those relationships, and so forth. And I am just tapped out on my ability to execute these campaigns like I used to do because I'm so busy doing client management and business development. And as soon as they start bringing more folks on board, it becomes a challenge because those folks in general aren't 10 or 15-year marketers. Those folks are someone out of the local university with a year or two of journalism degree and a year or two of marketing background. And so how to get those folks to execute the digital marketing campaigns with nearly the same professionalism of the owner-operator is both a challenge and an opportunity there to scale the business. Regardless of the background, all of these different types of agency owners is making a decision at some point is to, back to Karen's 2 slides, whether to specialize and really stick to the knitting of their own background or to broaden their services and maybe go outside a little bit of their comfort zone. This really depends on a couple of things in terms of making that decision. One is, just their own personal style at these agencies and their own brand in terms of knowledge of what their agency can provide and so forth is number one. And number 2 is, from a business development standpoint, if you just focus, let's say, on creative design, or you just focus on search engine optimization, or you just focus on database and email marketing, do you have enough reach from a business development standpoint to get new clients that just need specialization in that service? And what we see increasing that aligns very much with Karen's data is, if in the long-tail agencies we work with, most of their client base, most of their Rolodex, most of their referral network is in a local area or region. It's either a metro area or it's a state or whatever. And so adding the next new client becomes, pretty expensive in terms of time of the founder, doing the networking, going to the local Chamber of Commerce meetings or other, sort of networking events, making presentations at the local business school, all of the things that are required, and how you all that are listening know what that is to develop the new clients. And so the goal really becomes, can I continue my billable relationships with current clients, because it becomes more and more expensive for me on the margin. And when I say expensive, I mean usually the founder's own time, which is the most valuable thing in an agency. It becomes very expensive to get the next client on the margin, to add that +1, that new client all the time. And the clients out there that we see at the small, medium business level are asking for more cross-channel services. They don't say it like that. They don't say, I want cross-channel marketing, because I know that's where the market's going. They don't say like that at all. They say something like, I don't really care if I'm running a social media campaign or doing a website redesign or doing email marketing. I want more leads for my B2B product. Or I don't really care how you drive more traffic to my website or what my page views are up and down. I want more subscriptions for my business and so forth. And so, so that's what's driving the sort of the demand out there at the small, medium business level to expand services in order to keep those sort of those billable relationships with clients on an ongoing basis. We're going to go next to a poll question, and I'm going to send it back to Karen.
Okay. Well, first Chris, because I'm going to do the poll question, Karen, then I'm going to send it back to you, okay? All right, guys, same thing. Audience, please participate on this one again. If you are an agency, what services are on your roadmap in the next 12 months? And if you are a marketer, what channels are on your roadmap in the next 12 months? Again, this one is a multi-answer question, so please click as many as apply to you and hit that submit button on the bottom of your screen. Okay, Karen, it is back to you. Here is your next slide.
Yeah, sorry, I got mixed up there. I sent it back to Chris. I meant to say you, and I said Karen on the poll question. I apologize for that.
Back to you. Karen, Chris, Rob, then it's back to you then. Here you go.
Okay, so this slide is just really reinforcing what I was mentioning in the previous slide, which is the general small to mid-sized business, anywhere from the local, what we call SOHO business, small office, home office, let's say an accountant or local services business that does tax returns and other things during the season or during the year for their clients. If they hire an agency, they're not really asking for cross-channel marketing. They're just saying, I want more clients to do accounting work for, and I want to figure out how to reach them. And by the way, all my clients are within a 15 or 20 mile radius of where I work or where I live, because that's where my referrals come from, and so forth. And if it's a B2C type of business, it could be a business to consumer in terms of, I've got retail stores that I want more people to walk into, or I've got some network of salons of some sort, beauty salons or nail salons or whatever, and I want more people scheduling appointments. But anyway, there's some kind of an e-commerce transaction going there. And what these businesses are increasingly saying is, I'm willing to pay for kind of the result I'm looking for, which generally is either leads or an e-commerce transaction. And they're much less likely to say, yeah, I'm willing to pay for more page views, or I'm willing to pay for more likes on my Facebook site, or I'm willing to pay for a higher open rate on my email campaigns. And probably many of you a couple of years ago were able to sort of use those benchmarks as ways to justify a given campaign. But today, you'll probably still report those to your client, but you'll report those in the context of, and that was an interim step. That open rate on that email was an interim step, because what we really wanted them to do on that email was click through to the landing page we had and convert them to a lead for you all, or a subscription to your such and such. We were promoting tweets, and we got this much social media engagement, and those promoted tweets also had a link that drove people to a landing page and converted to what you really want, which is leads or subscriptions or whatever. And so that's just what we're seeing out there at the local business level. And all of that implies cross-channel, because it seems like everything that we see out there in terms of basic cross-channel digital marketing is some kind of a channel, whether it's content, which is inbound, or whether it's website organic, or website paid media, or social media campaigns that are driving folks to some kind of fill out a form to convert in some way, let us know who you are so we can drip email you, or let us know who you are so we can convert you in some way to have a more engaged relationship with you. So this is just a little bit more along that path as the business environment out there gets a little more savvy, and a lot of these things aren't quite so new. They're less willing to pay for certain channels and certain metrics in the channel, and more involved with I really want to just see what the results are. Now, what this leads to is a really big opportunity for agencies themselves. Why is that? Because when a client asks for more results, more leads, more e-commerce transactions, whether it's sales or subscriptions or whatever, this allows that transition or that segue to sort of paint the broader picture of where digital marketing is going to the client. And this is a place where, you all is working at agencies can really deepen your relationship with your client and build some trust by educating them on what's going on in the market. And you can say, absolutely, we understand and we want to work with you to deepen to get the end result you want out of your marketing dollars, or at least out of your digital marketing dollars. We want that too. And what you need to understand is we can't do it with just one channel, because that's not how the market works today. We need to do it with you by bringing a broader perspective to this, and we call it cross-channel marketing, or you can use your own kind of positioning with it. And you can show them why, if they're asking for more leads, you are going to need to combine some level of campaigns. Let's call it pay-per-click and paid media, driving to the website, driving to a landing page. And that may be a soft ask landing page. That may not be a transactional landing page or a sign up for a free trial landing page. It may be a sign up for a webinar like we're doing now, or it may be a sign up to download some content. And from that starts a drip email campaign. Now, as you describe that to your client, it can be broad or it can be narrow, but the bottom line is there is a retainer-based service. Because you can't just execute one narrow piece of a campaign for 6 weeks. Rather, you paint a picture of, we're going to sort of layer on a couple of campaigns over the course of a quarter or 6 months. Nothing jumps out of a hat here on month one. This is growth over time. We see this all the time in terms of search engine optimization, for instance. Sometimes there are opportunities for some immediate results in SEO, but the majority of the time, you're painting an expectation of, hey, what we're really trying to get here is low double-digit percentage point, 10, 12, 14% traffic growth over 6 months, because that compounding effect really adds up over 6 months. And not only that, but we're going to drive that increased traffic based on keywords that lead to the best convergence and the best lead driving and so forth. With that, I'm going to transition back to Chris for another poll question.
All right, thank you very much. Audience, this is a single answer question, and if you are an agency, we would like your answer on, do your clients prefer siloed services or full service solutions? And if you are a marketer, do you prefer siloed services or full service solutions? Full service solutions. Say that fast, huh? And the answers are possibly, my clients, we prefer for each service to be managed separately, or my clients, we prefer for each service to be reported separately, or we prefer for some small or all services to be managed together, or the last option would be we prefer for some small or all services to be reported together. Again, you just hit one of the radio buttons this time and hit submit answer right there. And Rob, I'm going to go ahead and push it back to you with your next slide. There you go.
Okay, so I talked a little bit about the opportunity to talk to your clients about retainers based on what's happening out in the market and the client's desire for marketing results, sort of hard results, but also just the market in general, as Karen talked about, becoming more and more cross-channel, and the way we interact with the target market for our clients are becoming more cross-channel, and how to touch them. You can't send someone but so many emails, and they just check out or click the unsubscribe link or whatever. It is. But if you engage that list on a multi-channel basis and work with them in different ways depending on their behavior and so forth, now you've got, and when I say behavior, if they filled out a form or if they haven't, I'm talking about basic behaviors. If they visited the website in the past 30 days or not, those sorts of basic things. Those are different ways and more subtle ways to engage a broader audience for your clients to get the results they want. So, this is an example of a great example of retainer-based services. This is one of our partner customers, and what you see without going into gory detail is just retainer-based services. Forget about the magnitudes for a minute, because if you're a small agency dealing with very small Soho-based customers, your retainers may be, $400, $500, $600 a month for a couple of simple things on content creation and an email newsletter. And it may go up to tens of thousands of dollars a month. But this is probably a middle range or high middle range. I would say a lot of long-tail agencies are trying to get retainers in the $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month range to really help them plan their business, and that would be a great step. But what you see more broadly is that there's an integration of channels here, and on this price list. Again, this may be something you publish on your website, but a lot of agencies just don't, especially early on, they don't have it dialed in well enough to put, I haven't executed enough of these yet to put them up on my website, but this may be a one-pager that you show to clients, and that's always a place to start with pricing and services, is just solidify it down to a PDF that you can show a client over coffee with them, or meeting with them, or on your tablet with them. But the bottom line is there's a combination here of a writer for blogging or content, and search engine optimization, which obviously crosses over with that content creation. And there's landing pages and different calls to action, which will certainly be used on landing pages, but they may be also, those calls to action may be used in HTML emails. And you just get a sense of cross-channel. Now, a lot of smaller agencies may only have 3 items in that cross-channel, not 7 or 8. So don't get paralyzed by the length of that list. And larger agencies that may be on this list that Karen's talking about, they may have resources to combine 10, 15, 20 of these different services, because they've got a lot of different expertises in-house and so forth. But the bottom line is the retainer is a better way to sort of mix and match these services to what the client wants, which is the end results. And oftentimes, because of the pace of change here in terms of digital marketing, there's just no way for the client to bring some of that in-house, right? There's just no way. So you necessarily, as you sort of get them working with them, you really become part of their operational month-to-month execution of their sales and marketing efforts, because you're mixing and matching these things as needed for their target customers and target markets. And right back to Chris for another poll question here.
All right, everybody, here is another question, and this is for everybody, all the same question, and it's a single answer question. Which digital service would provide the best counterpart if integrated with other digital services? So I'm sure there's going to be a personal preference for everybody, so I'm interested to see what the results are on this one as well. So you just hit one of those radio buttons and hit Submit Answer on the bottom of that screen. And before I turn things back over to Rob, I just want to remind everybody the Q&A part of the broadcast is coming up in just a few minutes. So take advantage of this opportunity to ask Rob and Karen any questions you might have, and use that Ask a Question box, and we'll get to those during the live. Okay? Here you go, Rob. Back to you.
Okay. Last slide here. There's also a question of how to package up these services in some way that clients understand. Again, this may go all the way back to where your expertise is, because almost certainly your first set of bundles of combined services or cross-channel services should pivot around where the strength of your agency is, where the strength of the founder is, not only in execution of those services, but really understanding how they can impact a market and how they can really drive marketing results. So, these are some suggestions in terms of different ways to bundle things together. But, just one of the most obvious would be combining search engine marketing, which includes both search engine optimization and pay-per-click. And pay-per-click tends to drive a little bit more brand awareness, especially depending on what the copy you're using in the pay-per-click ads is. And oftentimes search engine marketing, again, goes not only to optimizing some pages, but an ongoing content strategy. So that's just an example. We talked also about email campaigns and how it can be email campaigns and purchase lists or a list from a client or whatever can be combined with nurturing and online signups, click-throughs to landing pages and so forth. And the same, PR is really another form of inbound marketing. So you can just see in these examples where an awful lot of these can be combined, mixed, and matched depending on what you're comfortable with, where you feel like your client's need is based on their target market, and how to get this into something they can swallow. And it can start small with a couple of things combined, and then a month or 2 or 3 into it, you can recommend, hey, we'd like to add an additional weight based on our understanding of your target market or what response we're seeing. We'd love to feather in a little bit more from this channel, and this is what we recommend doing. And maybe there's an extra, $800 or $1,000 a month of retainer services, or $500 or whatever it is to sort of feather in that channel or whatnot. And I think, Chris, this is the last poll question slide.
Right. This is actually a question we want to ask the audience just so we know what you want to hear for next time, hear the most about next time. And it's really, what topic would you like us to cover in our next webcast? How to package my services, how to generate more leads for my business, how to get my existing clients on my new services, how to transition my clients from project to retainer, or how to add more services to my agency. These are all possible topics we would like to explore, so please let us know which one you'd like to hear next. Okay, now let's go ahead and move to some live questions from the audience. And we'll start with this one here. It is, we're a traditional creative agency. What digital services would be the easiest to start offering?
I'm only laughing because it's very hard without more context to know to make specific recommendations regarding something, a question like that. So what I would recommend broadly is start with a framework of, okay, we're creative, but we also either in-house or through some contractors we work with or through a partner agency that we've done a little bit of joint work with before, or that I know the owner of and I would trust to do some joint work with. What sort of, one move on the chessboard, not 2 moves, just 1 move away in terms of something we'd be comfortable offering because of a little bit of knowledge there? And then the other piece of the Venn diagram is, what have our clients asked us for? Because we've got clients now and they've asked us for creative services. What else have they either hinted to us or brought up that they're doing with someone else, or mentioned that they'd really like to be able to combine it with such and such, or so on. And where those 2 circles on the Venn diagram cross over, in other words, what's not too far of a reach for us in terms of 1 move on the chessboard to offer additional services, and what additional services are my target market or my client base asking for. That's probably the best single place to go on a new service to offer. We do offer. In fact, next week I'm doing a webinar here just with our current customers and partners, and anyone's welcome to join on just really tactical. Here's a new service to offer. And next week we do more and more of these. But next week it's going to be, and it's up on our blog if you want to register. But next week it's just going to be, here's how to offer a customer newsletter for your client's customer base once a month. It is amazing how many small businesses out there don't take advantage of their own customer or client base to keep them informed of what's going on and to ask for a referral for new customers, because referrals are always the best source of customers for small businesses and local businesses. And so just something as tactical as, here's a client newsletter that you could offer, a monthly newsletter you could offer to your clients. and how to execute it and how to price it. We're going to be doing that next week. And there isn't an agency out there that couldn't execute that. I mean, so there's some real, depending on what you're looking for, there's some real basics, but there's also things that you might be significantly stronger at providing that has more expertise involved.
Those are good points, Rob. I guess I'll just add quickly that I would just think that this, with creative strengths, that you could look at display advertising, and if you were successful with display, then that would lead you into retargeting, right? Which integrates well with search, and that brings search and display together in some retargeting. And then the other thing I would just say is that everything on the web is becoming more visual, right? Pictures and photos and things like Pinterest and the news feeds on Facebook are all emphasizing visuals and graphics and pictures more, and the popularity of Instagram that we're seeing. So I would say with a creative agency to look at things that are just visual, like Facebook-sponsored stories or things like that, as a place to just sort of capitalize on the strengths that you already have and look for where visuals are really important. So.
Yeah, Karen, I think you touched on part of what I was going to ask next. I mean, the question was the easiest to start offering. Is that also the same as the best to start offering? Is there something that everyone should really start working towards offering as an integrated service?
Well, I think I just would say what Rob was saying, that you have to think about where you already have some expertise. I mean, he mentioned easiest things like newsletters to existing customers, things that your existing customers are interested in. But to me, the best is more of a qualitative word of depends on who your clients are and where your strengths are and what your clients' needs are. So, I don't know if Rob wanted to add it.
Yeah, I mean, I up front, I mean, I just use that as an example for of some tactical things that we offer to folks in terms of additional services. But my general thing is start with a framework of what you're good at and what's just slightly tangential to what you're good at. Because in general, when you're working with new clients or existing clients, you feel most confident with what you're good at. So something that's, as in my analogy, one move on the chessboard away from what you're already good at will be the things that you're most confident in working with a client on, and you're most confident that you can execute well. And start small. Don't try and merge in all 7 different aspects that we showed on that price list, that pricing example earlier, but rather 2 or 3 up front or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So the best is really just to get started, period. And
yep.
the easiest is to work with things that you're already good at. Just get started on it. Okay. All right, I understand. Here we go with another question from our audience. And this is interesting. Paid, earned, owned. Isn't media just media today?
Karen, you want to take that?
It looks like it's becoming that way, the way things are converging. I mean, we're still in a transition. So, I mean, we're looking at media traditionally, and things are paid. Certain things are paid for. Certain types of media are not paid for, and certain are owned. But I agree we're heading toward the reality that as the lines blur and those circles in the Venn diagram overlap more and more, that media perhaps will become just media. I don't know that we're there yet, but I don't know. Rob, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that question just leads to where the market's going, which is that there's convergence going on. And, it's a reality that everyone has to deal with out there. And so they are merging and converging.
And I think it leads to part of your presentation of the logistics of the business have to catch up of how do you get paid for this. I mean, we use paid, earned, and owned because we need to figure out still how to pay our agencies and how to pay the marketplace and the publishers, et cetera. But I think as the payment mechanisms catch up, it may become easier for the lines to continue to blur.
Makes sense. Here's a good question for you, Rob. This one is for you. Hang on. Okay. How do you determine the milestone in terms of number of contacts or prospects when you should integrate an outside CRM with Optify?
Well, I think that's really specific to the cases, and we've got a lot of people here that are a lot of our account executives and program managers that help folks make those specific decisions based on what the needs are and so forth. Again, that one needs context to answer accurately. But the vast majority of our agencies and their clients are relatively smaller businesses with relatively lower volumes of leads, and CRM integration is certainly not the place to start. I ran just as an example. Before Optify, I was number 2 person at a smaller software as a service business, and you need to get over 100 leads a month before you're really talking about even sort of the painfulness of exporting those or whatever. And so there's just a time and a place when it makes sense, and there's a time and a place when it doesn't, as an example.
Okay, let's move on to the next question here. What is working for generating new leads for agencies? Most prospects we've spoken to are not searching for these types of services.
Okay,
Too hard on that one. We can move on to another question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take a shot at this one. Part of this is educating the market a little bit, I think, and look, we all have different local market scenarios to deal with. I tell a lot of people I'm from the Midwest, and the market's knowledge in the Midwest is different than it is in Seattle or San Francisco in terms of what they're expecting out of digital marketing and digital media. But I think if you go to sort of blocking and tackling of what your result your client base is looking for, because everybody wants essentially to grow their business. Every client wants to grow their business, so they either want to sell more to their existing customers or sell more to new customers. And you start there and work backwards on, here's some best practices or some ways to do that. I think in the less sophisticated markets in some places, they really need that education step of, when I say less sophisticated, let's just say not quite as up to speed on what Pinterest is doing today, for example, or the latest social media trends, right? Which I think is where the vast majority of our agencies work with. There's a little bit of an education step there, and there's also a little bit of starting one step at a time with something basic, which goes back to why I was talking about a customer newsletter is one of the most basic things to offer. But it depends on the local market conditions and so on. Referrals help an awful lot there too. I'll mention that because an owner of a business talking to another owner of the business is invaluable relative to that cold call or other type of meeting.
Okay, we've got time for another quick question here. Given recent statistics that small businesses are either doing all social media digital marketing in-house, paying $0 to an agency, or spending less than $200 a month, how can those businesses be best approached for ongoing service? Another hard question for you today, sorry.
Well, no. Yeah, so, I think that I haven't seen that statistic, but what that would suggest to me is that most small businesses out there in most markets, and this is, I think, what we see is, they don't yet see social media as driving core new customers to their business. And I think that's probably an accurate statement. I think if you look at statistics, email is still driving way more results in most local markets than social media. Now, if you're talking about, if your brand is Chevrolet or Coca-Cola, you're talking about a completely different aspect of social media and brand awareness and integrating all this stuff. But for the average local business, referrals, email marketing, what's going on your website, those are the things that drive business. And so I think that statistic would lend itself to the fact that most small business owners say, I'm going to keep this in-house because I don't see it doing very much, and frankly, I can get someone to, sign up for a free Twitter account and push something out there, push a couple tweets out there twice a week because I don't see investing in that particular channel. But that doesn't mean that small business owner isn't willing to invest in other digital media channels and agency offerings that they do perceive as driving leads or e-commerce transactions.
Okay, the only thing okay, we're all done. Yeah, we're done. I was just gonna say that some research that I've been doing and talking to people about is a lot of the small companies that we see are actually maybe a dealer or an agent or part of a network for a bigger company, and sometimes it's the corporate company where you need to go to that's making the decisions. But we're seeing companies that have thousands of networks of franchisees, dealers, agents, et cetera, which may be small businesses, but they can have access to marketing resources through their corporate headquarters or marketing groups. So.
Amazing that you said that, Karen. There's a section of our website, if you go to it, called Distributed Marketing, and it's not geared towards small businesses at all. It's literally geared towards bigger companies that have a loose network, whether it's resellers or franchise agents, insurance agents, or dealers of some sort, or distributed local offices that really are kind of running their own profit and loss centers. And it's very common, and all of those networks are really running like a whole lot of small businesses, and we see that a lot.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That is really all the time we have for our broadcast today. Thanks, Karen and Rob, and thank you, Optify, for sponsoring it. If you want to visit them again, it's optify.net, or the little widget at the bottom of the screen still works. That is all we have for our broadcast today. We do look forward to seeing you here next time, right here at Digital Marketing Depot.